It has some special memories. It's really just pleasant.
A gravesite is supposed to be a sacred place, a place for reflection to honor those who went before us.
All the books just became my family when I married in the family. There was a closeness.
91-year-old Evelyn Buck regularly visits what's now called the Cookeville Buck Cemetery outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Black families have laid loved ones to rest here for more than 100 years, including her husband, Walter.
He was a Metro policeman. He was a veteran, and I wanted him to be buried at the Veterans Cemetery. He said no, he wanted to be buried in Cookeville beside his mom and dad.
The cemetery has long been neglected until a local archivist became interested.
It was so grown up and green you couldn't see anything except 5 or 6 graves.
It just made me sad.
And it looked like it was the woods.
Over the years, overgrowth was cleared away. New dirt filled sinking graves. 250 death certificates were found and money donated for new gravestones.
All through these years, nothing was integrated. Everything was segregated. The generation coming on needs to know.
Similar stories are playing out in other cities across the country. Junior cadets in Cleveland are raising money for missing headstones of Black Civil War veterans.
They deserve to be noticed. They deserve to have a grave.
Eagle Scouts in Richmond built a memorial for veterans' headstones that were piled up in another black cemetery,
where we found 82 veteran African-American headstones lying in a pile under the dirt. When I saw that, that's when I knew I had my project.
Take off. Clear.
Girls in San Diego are learning to fly drones to help map out lost burial sites of Black or Indigenous people. In Clearwater, Florida, protective land orders are in place and educational programming is being developed to teach children about various cemeteries that were erased, discarded, or mismanaged.
Telling untold stories that, really need to be put in the public light that often are ignored or have been left out over time in history.
Florida has several of these grave sites, some now covered up by various developments. Professor Antoinette Jackson, chair of the Department of Anthropology at the University of South Florida, is overseeing the Black Cemetery Network. It's a national database documenting sites across the country.
It's just not about the cemeteries, it's about the businesses, it's about the schools, it's about the churches, and all those kinds of things that have been going on in these communities all this time.
The project started out as a grant after George Floyd's murder and America's racial reckoning back in 2020. Since then, Jackson says the response has been overwhelming, growing from 11 to 79 sites in 20 states and Washington, D.C., expanding as groups working at other cemeteries learn about the network and submit their work.
It's a way for people to communicate with one another, so strength in numbers as well.
Then, at the end of 2022, after years of failed efforts, the African American Burial Grounds Preservation Program was included in the government funding bill. It will provide $3 million in grants every year to help identify grave sites before even more redevelopment can cover them up. Jackson sees these cemeteries as a way to connect communities over America's complex history.
Because everybody I've found wants dignity for the dead. And so I think it helps people have difficult conversations, but on a point where they can really, unite and connect around really wanting to learn and empathize with others.
Another part of the Black Cemetery Network is telling their stories through collaborations with artists.
Do Black lives matter even in death? When respect is denied amongst the land of the living, then building a future on their bones only requires removing a headstone.
Aligning expertise with creativity to bring more people into the conversations and better illustrate America's racial wounds and work toward repairing and healing. Michelle London, Scripps News.
The race continues next.